Hello, my students out there. It's another wonderful day. Glad that you're alive and you're safe. Today, we are discussing noun clause. Okay. Like I said earlier, today we are discussing noun clause. But before we go deep into that, I would like us to recollect, what we've been taught about a clause. Now, what is a clause? A clause is a group of words with a finite verb which forms a sentence or part of a sentence. I repeat, a clause is a group of words with a finite verb which forms part of a sentence or a sentence. In other words, a clause can be meaningful. A clause can also not be meaningful depending on the type of clause you're talking about. Remember, we have two types of clauses. We have the main clause and we have the subordinate clause. So a clause is a group of words. What are we supposed to remember about a clause? A clause is a group of words. It has a finite verb. Remember that I always tell you that what differentiates mostly a clause from a phrase is the issue of finite and non-finite verb. So a clause must have a finite verb before it could be called a clause. A clause forms part of a sentence. In other words, when a clause is SC, that's subordinate clause, it forms part of a sentence. But when it is MC, that is main clause, it forms a complete a complete sentence. Okay. Now, then I said earlier that we have two types of clauses. MC, which is main clause, and SC, which is subordinate clause. So when we talk about main clause, we talk about declarative sentence, imperative sentence, interrogative sentence, optative sentence, and the rest of them. But when we talk about SC, that is subordinate clause, here we have noun clause, we have adverbial clause, and then we have adjectival clause. Okay, so we can now see where the noun clause is coming from. Okay, back to our topic, noun clause. What is a noun clause? A noun clause is a group of words with a finite verb which performs the same grammatical function as nouns and noun phrase. Okay, a noun clause is a group of words with a finite verb which performs the same grammatical functions as nouns and noun phrase. Now, what are these grammatical functions we're talking about? We have subject of the verb. Number two, we have subject complements. Okay, we have number three, object of the verb. Number four, object complement. Number five, we have object of a preposition. And number six, we have in apposition. To a noun or noun phrase. Okay, so these are the 6 grammatical functions of a noun clause. The first one, we say object of the verb. object of the complement, number 2. 3, we have object of the verb. 4, object of object complements. Then 5, we have object of a preposition. 6, in opposition to a noun or a noun phrase. So we are starting with subject of the verb. What happens when a noun clause functions as subject of the verb? Permit me to clean. Okay. Subject of the verb. That's the first. So here we say, when the noun clause performs the function of the subject of the sentence. When the noun clause performs the function of the subject of the sentence. Or when the noun clause appears before the verb in a sentence. Or when the noun clause occupies the first position in the sentence, we say it's subject of the verb that precedes it. I've given you 3 things. First one, the subject. In subject of the verb, the noun clause occupies the first position in the sentence. Secondly, it functions as a subject of the sentence. And then it also appears before the verb in a sentence. So we say it's subject of the verb. Now we have some examples here. What we plan to do seems an impossible task. What we plan to do seemed an impossible task. Now remember also that the noun clause asks the question what. It asks the question what. And it's also sometimes also introduced with relative pronouns. Okay. What we plan to do seemed an impossible task. Now, what is functioning as the subject of this sentence? What is occupying the first position in this sentence? And what is also coming before the verb seemed in this sentence? And that is what we plan to do. So that is our noun clause. And it asks the question, what seemed an impossible task? What we plan to do. You can see it has answered that question. Now, let's look at the GN and the GF. Let's look at the GN and the GF. The GN here, we have noun clause, of course. Noun clause. Okay. And then, what is our GF? Remember, GN means grammatical name, and GF means grammatical function. So, what is our grammatical function? Remember we said subject of the verb. So, which verb are we talking about here? Not the verb that is identified in the subordinate clause, remember? Okay, the verb we are talking about here is the one that is now, that is following the noun clause, and that is seemed. So we say our GF is subject of the verb, seemed. Okay, and remember that the verb we have identified should be on quotes. If it were to be external exam, if it's not like this, then the student will score 0. So please, it should be like this. Subject of the verb, comma, then on quotes, seemed. Another example we have is that he will refuse the offer is unlikely. That he will refuse the offer is unlikely. Now, that leads us to the question. What? What is unlikely? What is unlikely? That he will refuse the offer. And that gives us our noun clause. Remember, it should occupy the first position in the sentence. It should function as the subject of the sentence. It should also come before the verb. So we have our GN is noun clause. And our GF is, subject of the verb, which verb is. So we have subject of the verb is. Okay, so that is for the first one, subject of the verb. When the noun clause functions as subject of the verb. We have identified 2 examples. What we plan to do seems an impossible task. What do we plan to do? Sorry, what seems an impossible task? What we plan to do. I think that is one of the best ways of getting your identifying the noun clause. The noun clauses, in sentences. You ask the question. Okay, the second one also asks the question, what is unlikely? That he will refuse the offer. And you can see is occupying the first position. It is the subject of the sentence. It's also coming before the verb. Okay, I think that is clear. Now we move to number 2. Our number 2 is subject complement. Okay. In subject complements, okay, number 2, in subject complements, the noun clause is the same thing and the same person as the subject of the sentence. I repeat, in subject complements, the noun clause is the same person or thing as the subject of the sentence. In other words, the subject complement, the noun clause gives us information, tells us something about the subject of the sentence. Okay, we have some examples there. The most important thing is that he arrived safely. The most important thing is that he arrived safely. Okay. Now let's ask our question, what is the most important thing? The most important thing is that he arrived safely. Okay, that gives us the noun clause there. And like I said, the noun clause is, now note please, in the subject complement, it normally comes after the verb. So also in object complement. But in order not to be confused, in object complement, we will still get to that. In object complement, the noun clause, okay, is the sufferer. Is the sufferer of the action of the verb. Okay, it functions as the object of that sentence. But in subject complement, what we are saying in the subject is also the same thing we are saying in the noun clause. Or who we are talking about in the noun clause should be the same thing, the same person as the person we are talking about in the noun clause. Now look at this. What is the most important thing? The most important thing is the same thing as the fact that he arrived safely. And that gives us, that gives us the noun clause, which is that he arrived safely. Okay. Now we have our GN, subject complement. Okay, and our GN is noun clause. Of course, as far as the topic is concerned, our GN is going to be the same. Then GF is subject complement. If you want to explain further, we say that our subject, which is the most important thing, is the same thing as the noun clause, which is that he arrived safely. Okay, another example. What surprised me most? What surprised me most is that he spoke French, fluently. Now, if we look at this sentence, my surprise is the same thing as the fact that he spoke fluently. Now, let's ask the question, what? What surprised me most? that he spoke French fluently. And that is our noun clause. Remember, subject complement. So it takes the position of after verb. Okay. And it says the same thing. It says the same thing as the subject. So my surprise, my amazement, my astonishment is the same thing as the fact that the person spoke French fluently. So we say GN, noun clause, then GF, subject complement. Now further explanation will say that the noun clause, which is that he spoke French fluently, is the same thing as the subject. What surprised me most? Okay, so I hope that is clear. Subject complement examples. The most important thing is that he arrives safely. So we have that he arrives safely as our noun clause, and then our GN is noun clause, our GF is subject complement. As simple as that. Then what surprised me most is that he spoke French fluently. My surprise is the same thing as the fact that he spoke French fluently. So we have noun clause, and then we have subject complement. Okay. Then we move to number 3. Number 3, which is object of the verb. Okay. Now in object of the verb, is as simple as that. In object of the verb, the noun clause comes after the verb, and it occupies the position of the object of the sentence. It comes after the verb, and it also functions as the object of the sentence. In other words, is the sufferer of the action performed by the verb. So we have example: I believe that my children will make it in life. I believe that my children will make it in life. Make it in life, okay? Now, for us to identify the noun clause, we can ask our question: what is my belief? My belief is, something is missing here. My belief that, okay, my belief is. So what is my belief? For us to get a noun clause, we can ask the question what? What is my belief? My belief is that my children will make it in life. So whatever answer you get is a noun clause. Now, if we want to turn this to subject complement, we can say my belief is that I believe that this one is a noun, and this is a verb. Okay, are you getting it? So my belief is that my children will make it in life. If we have this sentence like this, it becomes subject complement. But when we have it like this, it becomes what? Object of the verb. Because here, this belief is a noun, and this belief is a verb. Okay, so I'm trying to give you the difference. I believe that okay, we now have GN. So which verb do we have? Okay, I believe that my children will make it in life. Okay, now we have noun clause. Then our GF is object of the verb. Which verb comes after the noun clause? Believe. Okay, that's object of the verb. Another example, second example. Okay, we have something like this. The principal has given the money okay, to the students who arrived early. Okay. The principal has given the money to the students who arrived early. Now we have, what has the principal given out? What has the principal given out? The money to the students who arrived early. So here we have noun clause. Okay. And then GF is object of the verb. Now we have two verbs here. Has and given, one auxiliary and one lexical. And we are not going to leave one and take the other. So we have object of the verb group. Verb group because we are not having more than a verb. So we have object of the verb group has given. Okay, that's for object complement. Remember I said object complement comes after the verb. It also functions as the object of the sentence, as you can see in the examples. So we have, I believe that my children will make it in life. What is my belief? What do I believe that my children will make it in life? That's our noun clause. Okay. Now for the GN we say noun clause as usual. Then for GF we have object of the verb believe. The second example says the principal has given the money to the students who arrived early. Now what is our noun clause? The money to the students who arrived early, as underlined. Then GN we have noun clause. And GF we have object of the verb group. Remember I said whenever you have more than a verb, don't take one and leave the other because both of them are important. The auxiliary is helping the lexical. So without the lexical, without the auxiliary, that is the helping verb, the lexical verb will not be meaningful. For example, if you remove has here, we have the principal giving the money. So you see, it doesn't make sense. So it affects the meaning of the sentence. So we take the two. So in that case, we say verb group. Okay. Now we are moving over to the fourth one. Okay. The fourth one we have is object complements. Okay. Object complements. Now in the object complements, in the object complements, the object, in the object complements, the noun clause appears after the object. It's very important. In object complements, the noun clause appears after the object in the sentence. In other words, it completes the meaning. It gives us additional information about the object of the sentence. So it appears immediately after the object in a sentence. Okay, we have the management has called the award what they termed punctuality award. The management has termed the award what the punctuality award. Punctuality award. Okay. Okay, let's use called instead of repeating term twice. Okay. Now if we look at this sentence, quite long, we have the management, that is MP, noun phrase, okay, has called. We have another verb group. We have verb group. Then we have the award as MP object. Our object is here is a noun. But just as our MP here is the subject. I hope you are getting it. Okay. Now, what determined the punctuality award? Okay, so we can ask the question, what has management called the award? What determined the punctuality award? So we have our NC, which is noun clause, as the object complement. So what is the award? The punctuality award. So here we have MP Our NP is okay, sorry, GN is noun clause, and then GF we have object complements. If you want to explain further, we can say the noun clause which is what they term the punctuality award, completes the meaning or complements. I think we should use complements. Complements the object, which is the award. Okay. Okay, that's for object complements. Can we take another example? Okay, another example. They made him what he wanted to become. They made him what he wanted to become. What did they make him? What he wanted to become. That is our noun clause, our NC. Okay, our object is him, a pronoun. Okay, they is pronoun as well as the subject. Then we have verb made. So we have our GN as noun clause. And then our GF is object, object complement. Okay, it's correct. So we can say that the noun clause, which is what he wanted to become, complements the object, which is him. So that is for number 4, object complements. Okay, we are moving over to the 5th one. Which is object of a preposition. When the noun clause functions as a preposition. Object of a preposition. Okay, in object of a preposition, simply the noun clause appears immediately after a preposition in a sentence. The noun clause appears immediately after the preposition, is governed by it. So we say it's object of that preposition that appears before it. Then we have give the message to whoever you see there. Give the message to whoever you see there. Give the message to whoever you see there. So we have whoever you see there as a noun clause. As I see, our preposition is to. That's our preposition. You can see it appears before the noun clause. So we have our GN, noun clause, and then the GF, object of the preposition to. So this one is very simple. Just identify where you have the preposition. The next one will be the noun clause. So you say this object of the preposition. Okay. Okay, that's number 5. Yeah, this should be number 5, sorry. Then we have the last grammatical function of in opposition to the noun. Okay, let's say a noun or noun phrase. In opposition to a noun or a noun phrase. So in this case, the noun clause is an integral part of the subject. Okay, it's an integral part of the subject or object of the sentence, depending on where the noun clause appears, whether with the subject of the sentence or with the object of the sentence. Okay, we have example here, Joseph, the young man that dreamt. Joseph, the young man that dreamt, has become the prime minister. Has become the prime minister. Okay, Joseph, the young man that dreamt, has become the prime minister. So we have the noun clause as the young man that dreamt. You can see that in this case, the noun clause is an integral part of the subject. Joseph, the young man that dreamt. In this case, it's just giving us an additional information about Joseph, which is a simple subject or the subject word in the sentence. So we have, okay. So in this case, please note, in this case now, it looks like subject of the verb, which is the first one. So someone can mistakenly say subject of the verb group has become. No. We are saying a different thing here. It is, the noun clause is in opposition to a noun or a noun phrase. So when you have something like this, when you're identifying when you are stating the noun, the grammatical function, you say in opposition to the noun, which is Joseph. Okay. In opposition to the noun, Joseph. Okay. We have the last, okay. I think we'll stop here. I think the example I've given to you in opposition to a noun is very clear. So we have Joseph, the young man that dreamt, has become the prime minister. So we have our NC as the young man that dreamt. Now, when you're identifying the GF, we say in opposition to the noun, Joseph. Then, here in a section where you have the verb group, we have, okay, let me give you an example where you have that, where you have in opposition to a noun phrase. We have B, second example, I like the fact that the examination is over. I like the fact that the examination is over. Okay. Now you can see, okay, we can ask the question, what do I like that the examination is over? Now remember, our object is the facts. You can simply say, I like the facts. The object here is the facts. Now, our NC in our position is just giving us information about the object. So in the first example, you can see that the noun clause is part of the subject. But in this other example, it's now part of the object. So that's why I said depends on where you can find it with the subject of the sentence, you can find it with the object of the sentence. So in this case, we have GN, noun clause, and then we have GF in opposition to the noun phrase. The fact. Okay. So that is that for about noun clause. Like I said, now the noun clause is a group of words with a finite verb. You can see in all the examples given, there must be a finite verb. So that performs the same grammatical functions as nouns are noun phrases. Like you see, subject of the verb, subject complement, object of the verb, object complement. Then we have object of a preposition, and in opposition to a noun or a noun phrase. So these are the basic grammatical functions of a noun clause. Now, I will give you, before we wrap up, I will give you few examples that you will do, assignments rather. Assignments. So it simply states the grammatical functions of these underlined noun clauses. Okay, the first one. What he said about me is untrue. What he said about me is untrue. Okay. The second one, the notion that people can work less. The notion that people can work less and earn more is contrary to reason. It's contrary to reason. So what should we underline here? Okay. That people can work less and earn more. Okay, that's number 2. Number 3, we were greatly amused by what we saw. We were, greatly amused by what we saw. We saw. Then number 4, we have our confusion is why he did it. Our confusion is why he did it. Okay. And then finally we have we greatly regret. Okay, I think we should underline this. Okay. Thank you. What he said about me. Okay. Our confusion is why he did it. That's okay. Number 3, what we okay. We were greatly amused. We were greatly amused by what we saw. Then we greatly regret. We greatly regret that we have to refuse. We have to refuse your invitation. Invitation. So what should we underline here? What do we greatly regret? That we have to refuse your invitation. Okay, so that's about that. State the grammatical. I just want the grammatical functions only. Remember I said we have the same GN. We are talking about noun clause, so there's no need repeating that. So just give me the grammatical functions. Just speak among the 6 grammatical functions we've discussed so far, and then go through them, and that will help you to answer the questions. The first one said, what he said about me is untrue. Then the noun clause is what he said about me. The notion that people can work less and earn more is contrary to reason. You've seen the underlying group of words. Then number 3, we were greatly amused by what we saw. 4, our confusion is why he did it. And finally, we greatly regret that we have to refuse your invitation. So that's the end of the lesson for today. In the subsequent lessons, we discuss adverbial clause and the adjectival clause. Thank you very much for being part of this program. And I want to use this opportunity to appreciate all of you that submitted your assignments. Many of you have really submitted, and I've been able to mark quite a number of them. So as you submit, I mark. So make sure you do yours and submit as usual. Thank you very much. God bless you. And make sure you stay safe.